Hi everyone and welcome to the bonus podcast for episode 431 of Coronation Street. You're either listening to this or watching this on YouTube because this is the week 2 of our trip to Manchester that we're bringing to you this week. Thank you to everyone who enjoyed and watched and messaged us about our week 1 video. Glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
We enjoyed doing it and we enjoyed making it.
So what are you going to do about it?
Yeah. Anyway, what have we been up to this week? At the moment it is, what day are we on? Sunday, aren't we? So as we did last week, we're going to do sort of bits of recording throughout the week with all Corrie related stuff that we get up to.
I don't know what more else we've got planned. I'm not doing anything tomorrow. I don't know what you're doing.
We might have a day's rest tomorrow.
I'm not doing anything.
We've got plenty more to come.
My feet are sunburned.
It's going to be fine. We started off yesterday going to Daisy Nook Garden Centre, didn't we? Which is run by Mark Llewellyn, who's a Corrie superfan and expert type guy who does talks and presentations.
He does tours for Canadians.
Yes, he knows an awful lot about Coronation Street.
He is like the bee's knees when it comes to Corrie.
He certainly is. He was one of the people that we first interviewed on the podcast, I think, way back when we went to Corrie, many years ago. We had a lovely chat with him.
Because we've been going for nearly 8 years now.
Yeah. And he had a Corrie exhibition at his garden centre as well, which was a collection of paraphernalia. What sort of stuff was there?
Memorabilia.
Memorabilia.
Paraphernalia?
There might have been some paraphernalia in there as well. It was like...
all kinds of good stuff.
Yeah, there were photos, there were old records that the cast had made, there was... shot glasses with Picturelina Sharples on, and I don't know, making out that kind of stuff, old Coronation Street stuff. It was really, really cool, and we were wondering.
I think he had an old script as well.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And I think he had a cobble, but I might be making that up.
Yeah,
it's been a while since we were able to see it because
it's been stolen. He told us that
it wasn't stolen.
It was nearly stolen.
Yeah.
He told us that he finished doing a tour one day, and then he found some Canadian fan trying to pocket.
Canadians
trying to pocket a load of his stuff, so he decided
maybe
I shouldn't have it out anymore. So sadly, that's been either put back in his attic or passed on to other people. And,
this is not the only collection of Coronation Street memorabilia that has been spirited away since we first heard about it. But we'll get to that in a minute, won't we?
Oh yeah, of course. And he also told us, didn't he tell us about one fan who tried to take up a cobble one time when he took them on a tour of the old set? Funny. Naughty. And this is why people can't have nice things and go and see Coronation Street exhibits.
Yeah, I wonder whether they'll put anything like this in the new set extension thing they want to do. They really should have stuff like that. Yeah,
well, they had stuff in the old tour, like bits and bobs.
They could really just fill so many rooms.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it was lovely. We had a little chat with Mark again yesterday, didn't we? Which was nice. He told us this
He
stuff.
was so generous with his time.
Yeah, and hopefully, as if you're watching this on YouTube, you're seeing some pictures of all the stuff that we saw last time as well. Anyway, that was that, and then after that, we were kind of exploring the northeast area of the city on our map that yesterday, weren't we? Well, out the outskirts, we went to what was it called? The place that we went to, which had Phelan's Chasing. It was the
Tewbrook was the name of the road.
Yeah, it was the moors, wasn't it? Saddleworth, exactly.
Maybe.
So we knew that they used that for some of the scenes where Phelan had his mill, where
there's an abandoned mill that was in the show, but also in real life.
Yes, it was the place where Andy and Vinny got shot, I believe.
Yeah.
And the place where Luke and Phelan had their car chases, and when they were racing through all the wood and undergrowth and everything. And then
this was like, he was at this area because it was supposed to be in the show a mill that was going to be converted, and he was doing building work and stuff. So he kind of took advantage of the fact that he would have access to this place.
Yeah.
Because it would be a really great place to put a body.
It was a bit out of the way, wasn't it? And we went on a Saturday when it was heaving with people.
Because we have been coming at this from the point of view of like, we're looking at Coronation Street things. We're like, who else would be interested? And apparently people love the countryside.
Yes. So
didn't really think about it.
We were luckily able to find a car parking space, and then took a sunny walk down because it was flipping hot again on Saturday.
And we walked down to get to this mill. we walked down like a really precariously steep bit of grass, but it was cobbles.
Yeah.
So you guys love cobbles.
They really, really do. We've been down quite a few cobble roads in the past week or so. Yeah, so you get down there and then you can see the gate of this mill, and there's like, warning, do not enter. And there's a big gate over the front of it, and there's a security guard the other side of the gate, and I think he saw us there and he shouted out to us because we were trying to get some footage of it. We looked totally suspicious of it. It wasn't. I mean, it was definitely the place, but it wasn't necessarily all there as the spot where such and such happened.
See, some of these places we will recommend to you to go and look for yourself, but I would not recommend you go here because you're not going to see anything.
No.
And unless you'd like a nice walk, because Tubrick's a lovely place to walk along.
Exactly.
Don't go there for Corrie stuff because you might get murdered by a rogue security guard who's taken inspiration from Pat Phelan's antics.
You can kind of go around the side as well, can't you? Where you can look over the fence and see some of those container crates.
Be looking over the fence.
So I think...
Don't recommend looking over fences.
I think, and someone else can correct me if I'm wrong here, if you know, but even the bit where Luke was shot was inside the mill area. So he chased them all around and it looked like they just pulled over at the side, but I think it was all
I'm sure for insurance purposes, it would make sense for them to have everything contained within the walls. Otherwise, they're going to come a cropper, aren't they? Because that is a public pathway, and there were lots of people walking up and down it.
It's still quite cool. I mean, it's not.
We couldn't find the bridge though, could we?
No, there's one shot in the chase where he goes over a rickety bridge, and we couldn't find where that was. There's an awful lot of private roads as well, wasn't there? So.
It could be anywhere there. It would make sense if they did it on a private road. Yeah,
you got to be one of these, secret suburban explorers. Urban explorers. If you want to go looking for it, you might get caught and get in trouble.
Well, actually, talking about that, this place is called Fletcher's Mill, isn't it? If you Google it, you can find some people who have gone in. Urban explorers, and they have actually breached the gates and found their way into Fletcher's Mill, and apparently the electricity is still hooked up, all of the rooms are still intact, there's paperwork everywhere, and that you can use computers and things in there. It's all connected.
We didn't want to take the risk, did we, for that time?
I was too
Maybe
hot.
Next time. It was really, really hot. We ended up just coming home after that. We planned to go to some other places after it on the way back, but we didn't get round to that. We might still do it.
I'm on strike
later this week. Gemma's on strike for a few days.
I'm fed up with this. The minimum, like, we've been walking 6 miles a day, and that's not an exaggeration.
You do when you go on other days.
I didn't come on holiday to go walking for 6 miles a day.
to go and look over a fence and get shouted at by a security guard.
And it's not even like we're relaxing in the car because we don't have air conditioning. So I'm not like being chauffeured from spot to spot so I can step out and sort of nod my head graciously and then go away again. I'm like being dragged around, sweating like a pig, turfed out, forced to trundle up and down hills for no apparent reason.
Well, it seems like the weather's going to take a turn for the worse or for the better in your case in the days to come, so hopefully we'll be able to get back out there later in the week. But if not, we've still got our Corrie jigsaw to keep us busy, which we spent a bit of time yesterday evening doing. It's coming together. We're going to get this done in the next week, I know.
So Michael's at the head of the jigsaw and I'm doing...
You're finding things for me.
Through the pieces.
Here's Don Brennan's nose.
Yeah. This is Audrey's hand.
Yeah.
This wine glass, I don't know where this is from.
Yeah, so that was our day yesterday. And so that takes us to today, where we went to Speedwell Cavern, which is up in the Peak District. And this was a place we wanted to visit because back in 1965, the Rovers regulars all took a trip out there. So there was Jack and Annie, there was David and Irma, Dennis was there, Charlie Moffat, a load of them. And this is one of my favourite episodes of the 60s. And it's funny because on the episode they say we're going to the Blue John Mines, don't they?
Yeah.
But as you pointed out to me in the car today, there's not actually a place that is called the Blue John Mines. There's one called Blue John Cavern.
Yeah.
But they didn't film there. They filmed at a place called Speedwell Cavern. Gemma, as our gem expert, could you inform our listeners what do you know about Blue John? What is Blue John?
Well, the funny thing about them filming at this place and saying it's Blue John Mines is they actually showed, like quite prominently in the episode, the side of the building where it says Speedwell Cavern.
That's how that helped us to find it.
And that building hasn't changed. So if you want to go to experience this for yourself, it's still there. The building's still there. You can get the same shots, but the interior was not filmed there. But anyway, you asked me about Blue John.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? It's a sort of fluoride.
Yeah, it's a fluoride. It's a precious, semi-precious
stone, and it is only found in Great Britain, in this area of Derbyshire. There's no other place where you can get this. It's very, very rare.
Yeah, and they haven't got much of it left, apparently.
They can no longer... They've exhausted the mines for larger pieces, because they used to mine massive... Well, they used to make like really big bowls and urns and vases and things, and this was back in the Roman times. They discovered this and sort of took it back all across the empire. Thought it was brilliant, but then sort of forgot about it, like so many things that in this country during the Roman times. Everyone just forgot that it happened. And then I think they rediscovered it in the 18th century and started mining it again.
Ever since.
And
turning it into earrings and rings and,
like
and necklaces and stuff.
There's not very much of it left, so it's very, very rare and very expensive.
Yeah, one of the things I really liked about the episode was the romance that was blossoming between David and Irma Ogden at the time, and he ends up proposing to her on the bus, because they get there and she looks in the window of the jewellery shop and says, "Oh, are you going to get me that ring?" or something, and he presents it with her on the bus at the end, and then they're engaged.
Blue John.
Which is lovely. But that's a really, really funny episode.
And Michael bought me a lovely pair of Blue John earrings.
Yeah, I did. It's a nice souvenir for it.
Yeah, I can't remember Speedwell Cavern. There's only a couple of places where they still mine this stuff.
Yeah, it's all around that area.
And there's not very much gets mined every year. So if you want some, you better hurry up and get some, because they're running out.
Go in your super fast car, because apparently that's where they all go, innit? When we got there first, it was weird. We got there about 10 o'clock or so, and
we didn't. We got there really early. We got there like 20 past 9.
It was even earlier than that. And it seems like
open.
Sunday mornings is where you come if you want to show off your flashy sports car, because a load of boy racers were there.
It was not flashy sports cars. It was modded, like Ford Fiesta.
They fooled me.
Well, you know this. Everyone knows this kind of people. If you're from the UK, I don't know if they do this in other countries. These people that like get their cars and they put fancy hubs on them or on the wheels or whatever, and stick spoilers on the back and paint them funny colours and put their like Instagram handles in the back of their on the decal on the window, and then hang around in car parks and rev their engines when you're trying to get a KFC or something.
So that's what they were doing
here.
They
did this at Speedwell, and they were there for pretty much all morning. They were there, and then they sort of went away after lunch.
Yeah, because we went off for a bit, because we didn't actually go into Speedwell Caverns because it's a boat tour. I mean, it was so totally different to Coronation Street,
So the idea was that the residents went off to the Peak District to go down and admire the interior of this cavern. So they filmed the exteriors at Speedwell, and if you go inside the little shop there is actually a very small display about the Coronation Street filming, which you can look at, but there's also lots of artefacts. But they didn't actually film anything, even in a cave. They just recreated the interior in a set.
Yeah, so that actually, if you go into Speedwell, it's a little boat trip, and we wanted to do a bit of a walking one, so we went down to the Peak Cavern, which is just down the road.
Devil's Arse.
It's called the Devil's Arse, because of the noises that it makes. And we had a nice time, so you can see some of our footage of then. And after that, we did a couple of Corrie-related pubs, including Lantern Pike, which used to be Tony Warren's local. Not only did he live around Victoria Park, which we talked about last week on the podcast, but he moved to, what was the place called? Hayfield?
Little Hayfield.
I thought it was just Hayfield.
No, there's two of them.
Oh, I don't know.
There's one without and one with.
And yeah, so the Lantern Pike was his pub that he wrote some of the early episodes of Coronation Street.
According to them, this is where he wrote some of the scripts.
Yeah, and they had some Corrie paraphernalia on the wall. Is that the right use of the word paraphernalia that time? They had some Corrie bits and bobs, including an old mirror from the Rovers, the old Rovers doors that were taken off when the pub burnt down in the mid-80s. And we wanted to go and see that, but unfortunately they didn't have it up. some of it had been taken away because the owner had moved, and other bits they had to take down because of COVID, and people were craning over to get to look at it, and people who were sitting next to them didn't like the idea of people staring over them.
So what happened was, this pub used to be owned by different people, and they obviously cared about the connection to Coronation Street, because they put this display up, and not all of the stuff that they displayed was actually belonged to them. And some of the stuff that they had, which I don't know if they still have that there, was a montage of pictures and also a letter that Tony Warren wrote himself to say, yes, I came to Lantern Pike. So that wasn't, none of this was up, but they had some memorabilia, like you said, the
doors, the mirror,
etc. And this actually belonged to Alan Hart, who was a News of the World showbiz journalist who won it in an auction. So I think what happened was he lent it to Lantern Pike Inn to display, and then when the owners left, they returned those items to him. So I don't know where those items are, but they're not at Lantern Pike anymore, even though the website says that they are. So that was slightly disappointing, but the food was nice. That
was lovely. Go on.
And it still is the place where Tony Warren apparently wrote these things, and he lived in the road that sort of, not the main road that it's on, but around the corner. He lived down that road. And also, at one point, Pat Phoenix lived in the same
area.
place. And apparently they used to drink at this place. I don't know what the time scale of that is, but...
Pat Phoenix was also the owner of the Navigation Inn, which was the second pub we went to, which was a horrible rundown pub.
It wasn't horrible.
It wasn't great, was it?
The bit we were in was not very picturesque. It's by Bugsworth Canal or something like that, Canal Basin, and there were nicer bits than the bits that we sat in, but it is just a not very amazing pub.
No,
it's just an average pub.
Interesting to go there. There was nothing Corrie there.
There was nothing to say that Pat Phoenix owned this. We didn't ask them anything. They seemed very, very stressed. But I will say one thing they had going for them was they were the only place I've been to that seemed to take COVID-19 seriously, and they were telling people, like, don't do this, make sure you do that, you're too close to me, you step away, don't stand too close to her. Nobody else was bothered, but this, if you're worried about safety and you want a drink in the Peak District, go to Navigation.
Yes, they get points for that.
They are very, very up on it.
Okay, so it's Wednesday now, and we're going to talk about what we've been up to yesterday and today. Yesterday included, there was a few drive-by shootings, weren't there? By that I mean photography shootings, of course. Starting off with the Doris Speed plaque over in Chorlton. Doris Speed played Annie Walker back in the 60s and 70s and early 80s, and I think you found out about her plaque, didn't you, online?
Yeah, I can't remember how I did, and it's very interesting because there are not many Coronation Street cast or production staff.
There's really not.
And I honestly, if I had more time on my hands, I would totally start a campaign to try to fund to get some more of these put around Manchester. Elsie Tanner, Pat Phoenix has nothing anywhere, so I think that's a travesty. But they do have a plaque on the house that belonged to Doris Speed while she was filming in Coronation Street. So that is where she stayed, and it's in a cul-de-sac. I wouldn't recommend you go there necessarily. It's a residential area. It's very quiet.
Yeah, we had to just we drove past and did a bit of filming, and then we parked down the road, and I did a sneaky look. But I mean, I felt pretty bad because it was someone's house, and I was waiting for somebody to jump out at us at any minute. But
we took footage so you can see it and enjoy it yourself.
So you don't have to.
Yeah, exactly.
So from over there, we went over to Wythenshawe to go and see the Dog and Gun, or the Park Hotel that it was used to be.
Park.
It's called the Park Hotel on Google Maps.
It doesn't have. I don't think it
doesn't.
Rooms.
Yeah, so this used to be used as the Dog and Gun, and I don't think there's any reason for them to go back there now. But this is going back 4 or 5 years maybe,
so
when the big villain was Callum.
Callum, and Gemma was introduced as like his sidekick. And lots of dodgy drug dealings went on there. It was very rough.
Yeah, there was Macca as well was his other one, wasn't it? His other lackey.
Yeah, that's right. So, it wasn't a particularly supposed to be a nice area, and I would say that the location people did a pretty good job of finding somewhere that was...
Well, we've got a little story about when we've got to Wythenshawe yesterday.
I just have to preface this by saying that this is not snobbery on our part, because we live in a very similar area to this. So we're not phased at all by any of this. It's just like, oh, it's like home. When we pulled up to the Tesco, there was like a man, and we went inside to buy something.
There's a Tesco opposite the pub.
Tesco Express. And a man was kicking off in there because they wanted his ID, and he was like shouting at everybody.
He was really having a go at the poor cashier.
You can't ask me for my ID. I've been in here every day. I spend 60 quid a day on this, that and the other thing. You know who I am. You're not very kind, and all this stuff. And he came out and he started arguing with a bunch of other people as well.
Yeah, they took it out onto the street, didn't they?
He was just picking on random people and like shouting at them.
I was kind of thinking, don't involve us in this. We're from down south, you know. We don't know you.
Well, I went back in after he'd left, and I spoke to the shop assistant. I was just like, you okay? Because that's very stressful. She was like, yeah, I don't even care. I was like, okay, fine. You must be used to this.
But the pub itself was all closed up, wasn't it, when we got there?
I don't know if it's closed.
I don't know whether it was closed, whether it was just a bit
very early, even for hardened alcoholics.
We did a little tour around the outside, didn't we? And it was just the same as it was before. We thought that they'd taken a door out, didn't we, stupidly, because we got a photo of around the back, which I think they used for the front, really, of the Dog and Gun on the show. And it looked like there was a door in a wall somewhere, and we put on Twitter, oh, look, they've taken a door out, because here it is just a wall. And then somebody helpfully pointed out that maybe that was just a door that was swung open into the wall.
We didn't say we were bright. Also, just have to quickly mention, we had Porky Pig's Yorkshire pudding wraps for lunch that day, and I've been trying to have one of these for ages, and we managed to get one.
We went back and had lunch, didn't we? Yeah.
And that was really tasty. It's very nice. It's their world famous Yorkshire pudding wraps. Recommend it, but they should have more gravy.
Then we went into town to see Charlie DeMello again.
Lovely Charlie. He's so wonderful and friendly and lovely and nice and
yeah. We took a trip into town first because we've been filming in the morning, so we sat around by the pigeons and we just basically got very, very hot and bothered, didn't we? And then
I wasn't living my best life.
But we found a little cafe in Primark, which was so nice and cool. It was a Central Perk, wasn't it?
Central Perk
from Friends.
I don't know what the. And I bought a jumper.
To save for Christmas time.
Yeah.
So then we went over and see Charlie.
It was unbearable
for a couple of hours.
But Charlie was absolutely wonderful. He's so lovely and nice.
We talked about Corrie stuff. You talked PlayStation stuff with him.
Oh,
and we
he
had
gave
some
me some
drinks.
great recommendations.
Gemma thinks she's going to hire a PlayStation.
I want to rent one. I can't afford to buy one, but
that was lovely to see him again. I wish we could have stayed longer. We were with him for 3 hours or so.
Well, he had to go off and do his own thing.
He's got his own little ritual for Tuesday evenings. So if you follow him on Instagram, you might know.
Oh, okay.
But so he went and did that. So it was lovely seeing him again. And then we got an Uber into Media City.
We had to because we were running a bit late.
Another appointment with the stars.
We're so fashionable and awesome.
We'd arranged to meet Sally Ann Matthews and Adam Blease. So obviously people who played Jenny and Dirk in the show. That's Dirk, not Kirk.
There was a bonus special guest star.
Yes, that was exciting.
Poppy the dog, who was absolutely beautiful.
Adam's dog Poppy.
Wonderful, darling little dog that I would have spent the whole day with if I'd been allowed. But we just sat and just to reiterate, socially distanced at all
of it. We were socially distanced with Charlie. You see on the pictures that I put up. Socially distanced with Sal and Adam. We were all spaced out
outside at all times.
But Poppy was funny, wasn't she? She kept going over, and there was this tiny little girl. I don't understand children's ages. 3, 2, I don't know.
She was like 4.
So I've got no idea. And who came over, she was all dressed in pink, wasn't she? And she's like, "Can I stroke your doggy?"
Oh, I tell you what, it was so good to hear a child ask permission before touching a dog. If you teach your children nothing else about animals, teach them to always ask first, because that's how kids. And
every time she stroked her, she did a little funny dance, didn't she?
So
and she
excited.
Went off and she was looking over.
Oh,
anyway, we had
so sweet.
We had lovely chats and the goss with Adam and Sal, didn't we?
Oh, they're so fantastic. And I just say also, Adam Blease is the nicest, smiliest, happiest, most positive person.
He really is, isn't he?
He's always smiling and laughing. He's absolutely fabulous.
Considering that in Corrie, you just see him in the background, who's dourly holding a clipboard or whatever.
He's so nice.
He's a really, really charming chap.
I think I just embarrassed myself because I was so hot and they were like saying things to me, and I was just sitting there like a brain dead idiot going, who are you talking about? I don't know what you mean. It took my brain a long time to work out what. Yeah, I was not on my top game yesterday.
It was fun. We had a lovely chat for a couple of hours there, didn't we? And,
they were so nice.
Again,
certainly didn't need my input.
Mostly talking about Corrie stuff. We talked about some of the things places that we've been to, and some of the places we're going to go, and it was lovely. And we talked about the weather because it was so jolly hot.
It's unfair to characterise the Brits as obsessed with weather, because we live in a country that has got incredibly unpredictable weather, and apparently our summers, the humidity and the heat combined makes it like tropical rainforest conditions. When you come from a country that has a dry heat and air conditioning everywhere, you probably don't appreciate how it affects us when it gets to 30 degrees and it's like 91% humidity. It's like living in a jungle.
It was lovely and cool, coolish down by the water though, wasn't it? It was a lot different. And so we kind of chatted there for a bit, and then we parted ways. It's just such a shame that we can't sort of chat more often, isn't it? Because we live at opposite ends of the country, basically.
I know, it'd be so nice to hang out.
And I was thinking, when are we going to be able to go to Manchester again and see you guys again with Charlie and everything?
Michael. It's not like there's the man that lives north of London.
Well, I think when they open the new set tour bit, we'll probably go out there again. But anyway, we then headed over to Media City just to get a few snaps of it with the sunset.
Oh yeah, we ordered another Uber because we were being decadent. And Michael was like, I want to take a photo of the outside of the set, and then he ran away up the road and jogged all the way back. It was
further
again
than I thought it was. I had to get back in time for the Uber, but yeah. Anyway, we did that, got our Uber, and then after a very long day,
it was like about 9:30, and we
home.
had some ramen in Shoryu, and it was really, really good.
Very,
ramen.
very tasty.
So then we came back, and it was still incredibly hot, and by this point, both of us at some point had felt very odd during the day, me more than you.
I'd had a funny turn
you
as
had
well.
A funny turn.
I'm used to you finding it difficult in the heat, but I had a little woozy moment. So Gemma had to guide me over to a bus shelter, and it turned out there's some people doing a drugs deal there. So
yeah,
we didn't stay
let's
there
move on from here. Anyway, so in the night in Manchester, there was lovely rain and a bit of thunder and lightning, which I absolutely adored. But it didn't cool anything down at all, and I could not sleep. It was about 4 o'clock probably before I managed to get to bed.
You're noticing a theme with some of these discussions.
I'm sorry, what, me moaning?
No, just the talking about the weather, like you said.
Yeah,
it's been a hot topic during our trip here.
Hot topic. Anyway, so I began to feel very unwell, and I eventually developed a migraine.
Yes, you woke up with a migraine.
The day,
the morning, you're feeling a bit better now, aren't you? It's passing.
I spent the day like a Victorian lady swooning on a couch and trying to collect myself, and I sent Michael bravely off into the world, didn't I?
Yes, because we'd got an offer from Mark Llewellyn, who we talked about earlier on in this episode.
I'm so sad I missed
who invited us to go around to Ashton, where he would give us a guided tour of some of the Corrie sites.
He's so generous
and
with
he
his
was
time.
he really, really was, and he's used to doing these tours because he gets Canadian fans. When they come over, it's often him that does the tours around there.
You have to make sure that you get time with this guy, because he knows everything there is to know, and if he doesn't know it, ain't worth knowing.
Yeah. I mean, he used to be Roy Batcliffe's agent at one point as well, so he really does have the inside scoop of a lot of Corrie stuff, to be honest. Anyway, so that was over in Ashton, and we first off we went to the Old Chapel Unitarian Church, which was the place where Roy and Hayley were supposed to get married back in 1999, but Les Battersby scuppered it because he just told the press that two blokes are getting married, and then they came in. But
when was that? You say what date?
99. So the funny story there was that they had to choose a different church than usual to do the wedding in, because it was filming of a transsexual marriage.
That's the term that was used at the time.
Yeah, and most of the C of E churches would like, no, you're not filming that in here. But so they had to find this Unitarian church over in, I think it was in Duckingfield. It's a more liberal branch of Christianity, shall we say? So they were like, yeah, film it here, that's fine. So
God loves everyone,
so
even you people.
There's some famous pictures of the what was I going to say? Some famous pictures of Roy and Hayley standing outside the front of the church, and they were filmed as like mock-up shots because they didn't actually get married there in the end, but they were the ones that sort of went to the press. That was quite funny. So that was nice.
Bit of history there, really.
Absolutely. Then we went down the road a little bit to the Duckenfield Town Hall, which was briefly used in Coronation Street back in 1995 for Steve and Vicky's, again, another failed wedding. And this was something that if you're watching on ITV3, you'll have seen quite recently. They literally just kind of go up the steps there, and I think they did a bit of filming inside. But there was a funny story there as well that Mark said that there was a News of the World reporter wanted to get a picture of it, because this was when Roy Barraclough came back to the show, and everyone wanted a shot of him.
Yeah.
And so that there was a load of press there, and they blocked the roads off and everything, and then somebody went to one of the houses opposite and paid somebody to go upstairs to film from their top bedroom, and the lady let him in but didn't realise that her husband, who's working nights, was asleep in the bedroom. So he walked into there. So that was quite cool, just for a minor location. Then we went over to Portland Basin. Now that's one of probably the most famous, well-known Corrie spot that we went to this morning, and somewhere that we'd been to before, isn't it? Back 3-4 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
What do you remember about that?
Is this not where Richard Hillman tried to drown the Platts?
It is indeed.
So this is where you would no longer hear the You and Me song, because apparently Corrie doesn't have the rights to show it in clip shows anymore.
I still don't believe that. I need to check out about that.
But he tried to drive everybody into the canal without playing on the radio, shouting "I love you" or something, and it was Gail, Sarah, David, and he was driving.
And Bethany, baby Bethany
went into the water, and this was like the finale stunt of Richard Hillman's reign of terror.
Such a
what
fantastic
a fantastic
episode.
way to end as well.
Yeah.
A really, really climactic, dark, yet still very Corrie-esque, because it was rooted in Manchester. It was slightly comedic, even though it was dark, because the sight of somebody driving into the canal with that playing in the background is like macabre and
It was also used a few years later when David was trying to ruin Sarah and Sarah and Jason's wedding by sort of reenacting the stunt himself.
He was being like a dark,
trying to cause a bit of a
teenager.
diversion for the actual wedding, and he drove into it as well. And apparently when they filmed the second time, they'd converted the top part of the building next to it into flats, and the people who lived there weren't particularly happy with all the disruption that filming caused then.
I can imagine not.
Quite funny. Anyway, it's a really picturesque little area, really. And we've never been on a little
Basin.
walk around there, have we?
No.
But it's something that I'd quite like to explore.
It's quite near a museum as well.
Yeah, Portland Basin Museum, which is like a bit of social history museum, isn't it? Again, that was all closed.
When it's open,
really worth
visit,
going to.
please.
Yeah, that was great. We then took a little stop off to Rycroft Hall. Now I've only got a little bit of footage from here, but hopefully I'm going to be able to put in a few pictures from when we went there last, because this is known for being the Weatherfield Register Office that they often use. So they've used it for Stephen Becky's wedding was there, Phelan and Eileen, Michael and Gail, I think Daniel and Sinead, one of the attempted weddings, was there. It's got a famous wood panelled room, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Which we've not been able to get into. When we went last time, it was locked, so we had to look through the keyhole, but that was as much as we could see. But today, sadly, COVID, the whole building was closed down, so we had to look at the outside of it at least.
All this is doing is making sure that we have a reason to return.
I know, totally.
At a later date.
Yeah, so that's a cool famous bit. And then we went to Ashton Town Hall just to finish off our journey, which was where it used to be used as Weatherfield Town Hall, probably not for a good 20-25 years or so. Back when Elf was Mer, they used that as a frontage sometime. I think Mark told me the last time they used it was 96. I think it's coming up on ITV3 soon, actually, where some of the OAP staged a protest in front of the hall.
What are they moaning about?
I think it was about
early bird specials.
No, I think it was about retirement accommodation or something like that. But anyway, that was also closed off today. I think they're doing some renovations there, but I took a few shots of there, and when it comes on to ITV3 in a few months' time or whenever it is, I'll be able to go.
I've been there.
Yeah, so that was our job today, and now I'm coming home and telling you all about it. It was really, really fun, and if he's listening, I just want to say a big thank you to Mark for giving some of your time, a couple of hours this morning to show me around. Really
so wonderful.
Good experience to get someone who knows what they're talking about and to guide you there, rather than us trying to
And I
around
also
ourselves.
have to say, if you want to support Mark, and you live in Manchester, go to Daisy Nook.
Yes.
Because I will say, I was very jealous. They've got some reasonably priced vegetable plants, and I was absolutely gagging to take some of them home with us. But obviously, by the time we get them home, they'll be dead.
Exactly.
Yeah, get yourself in there. And also, sorry to say, because Michael's moaning about me about that time, but there's really good planters, really really cheap.
Yes.
Good go buy.
Indeed. And on to today. We are Thursday now, and we've been out for a few more Coronation Street visits today. All places we'd been to before. You would have seen if you were following us on Instagram and Twitter and everything. We went to visit Grasmere Drive, didn't we? And who lives there, Gemma?
Audrey.
Audrey does. Her damp houses there.
She's got so many damp problems.
There's two houses that we visited for that, because the first one that Alf and Audrey moved into in 1990, they had to change about 15 years ago or so, because apparently
really 15 years?
I think so. The guy that lived there, I think it was a guy, got a bit too old apparently.
Homeowner.
The resident got a bit too old apparently, and they couldn't carry on filming there basically. But if you have a look online, you can. Did you go to Zoopla? Did you say?
I love Zoopla.
You can see what it's like now. They've completely changed the inside of it. It's been gutted.
Well. It is. What the state that the house was in when it was put on the market in April 2018. This is all publicly available information, so don't feel too bad about sharing it. That's what the inside of the house looks like. It's completely updated inside. It looks amazing.
We'll probably put in some pictures over now.
It was, what was it, 380 grand it went for?
Something like that.
And it had
no mention of Corrie.
And the front's been completely changed. You wouldn't recognise it from pictures in Coronation Street, which is why probably one of the reasons that they completely changed the front, so it doesn't look anything like.
Yeah, so but even the driveway, because there was a bit of patch of grass on the right where Toya and Emily and Roy did their protest one time. It's completely gone. It's paved over, isn't it? Barely recognisable. And then
what kind of person buys a house that's been featured in Coronation Street and then tries to pretend it wasn't ever in the show?
We then went on to the new Grasmere Drive, which has been used less. Is less common, less well known, I guess, on the show. But they've been using that for, as I say, quite a while now. We drove past that quickly. We didn't want to stay at any of them too long because, like with the Doris Speed plaque, people did live there and they were probably at home.
Just to also say that they add a number plate onto their front of the house, don't they, to say it's number 5.
It's number 5.
It's
neither of them are number 5
but
on the street.
Interestingly, that the old house had a name on the front, which they never got rid of, so you can still see it.
Yeah, and then after that we went along to Langworthy Park, or Chimney Pot Park as it's more commonly known, which was one of the original, if not the original place that they filmed Red Wreck scenes, and they have done since at least the late 1980s, because we managed to find a picture of Martin and Jenny in the park, didn't we, which we recreated.
Yeah, it's all changed. All the area around there has changed. It's all been fancified up. The old, quite a lot of the old terraced houses, not all of them, some of them are still there, but quite a lot of them have been replaced with really fancy, new, lovely looking places with, they're called upside down houses because they have gardens up in the sky, sort of thing.
Yeah, in the second floor.
And you can see, because Chimney Pot Park, it's called that because it's like at the level of the top of the houses surrounding. It's like on a mound.
And some of the chimneys, not very many of them around there now, have also got the crowned chimney pots around there, which I think might have been ones that were filmed for an old Coronation Street intro sequence. I may be completely wrong. But anyway, they've filmed loads of Corrie scenes there. We took a few pictures. There was that Jenny one, obviously. There was a scene like last year or the year before last. I can't remember how long Bernie's been in it now, when Gemma and Paul were waiting for Bernie in the park. She never showed up.
Sad.
I know. Rita was mugged there, you remembered earlier.
Yeah.
Honestly, tons of stuff. So, Devon Cal did training there.
We said earlier in the week that we went to Heaton Park, and that's part of the filming location for the Red Wreck, and this is also another filming location for the Red Wreck. So it's quite an eccentric place, the Red Wreck, because sometimes it's like a tiny little park Another time,
sometimes it's
like a
sprawling
giant,
field.
great, big, stately home grounds with a golf course attached to it.
So that's basically it for the week. Well, it's not the end of the week yet, but this is going to be the end of this particular episode of Coronation Street, because our bonus podcast next week is going to just have the final few bits that we're doing, including Blackpool, which we're hoping to go to tomorrow. You'll know that by the time this video is out, so it's not going to be a secret. So that should be lots and lots of fun.
The weather's changed now. It's still cooler. A bit hot, but it's not a horrible heat wave anymore. Yeah. But I think that from next week it's going to be raining again. So it's good job that we were here for sunshine.
We did get lots of good pictures and videos in the sun.
And we also went on a secret mission today, didn't we?
We did go on a secret mission this evening.
No, when will you know about that?
Next week.
Yeah, so you'll have to wait. But I think it'll be worth it. But you can only find it out on our YouTube channel, so that's a reason to visit that.
And subscribe.
You can find us on YouTube. You can
hopefully you're already on YouTube listening to this and watching it.
Twitter, Facebook, Spotify, Instagram, everywhere.
We're everywhere.
We're not exclusive to anything.
Exactly. Thank you everybody for listening. Thanks for all the lovely comments about the last video as well. I hope you've enjoyed this one just as much. Also,
I'm really glad that we were able to do this now, because I didn't appreciate how much it meant to people to be able to just watch a video of someone going somewhere when nobody can go anywhere.
I know.
I'm really glad that we're bringing Manchester to you, our global audience. When do we get our Manchester money?
Thank you everybody for listening, watching.
Global ambassadors.
Cheers. Goodbye. And we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Do you have to do music?
The music for this episode came from podcastthemes.com.